I want all the turtle figures that I didn't get, that I stopped. Not that they're not gonna be worth anything, but at least I can say, look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you say my collection's complete, you know? Hey, welcome to That Toy Dude. I'm Jamie.
And I'm John.
And this is all about our toy collection. And you'll see behind me, there's several turtle toys, and this is going to happen all throughout the video too. So it's because of the way that Donatello's feet were made. He's on his tiptoe right there. But we're just going to discuss toys, and especially these four original Playmates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys that were the first to come out. And so I started out with Raphael. Basically had an art class that I was taking at Milton High School as a kid. And this other buddy of mine, he was drawing Ninja Turtles. And so I had no idea what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was. And so he was telling me all about it and telling me it was a cartoon that came on. And I was very intrigued by it. It was a weird name at first, because no one had ever heard about that before. And so I was like, okay. And so he showed me how to draw the Ninja Turtles, and I probably still have that very first drawing. I'll have to look for it and post it later if I can find it. But after that, after the drawing class, we went to Kmart, me and my mom, and in search for the toys. And so I think the only one that they had was Raphael at the time. So Raphael was my first figure. And so we went back to my grandmother's house and watched the very first one, which was, I think, the Incredible Shrinking Turtle episode. It was season 2, so I was already late into the series in season 2. So and I just played with my figure and started learning more about the turtles, and had no idea that there was a comic that started it all that was much more grittier and darker.
Yeah. Falling back on the funny name, I watched an interview with Eastman, and he one of the creators, and paraphrasing his words, of course, it was all just started kind of as a joke hobby.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to go anywhere, and it started to get marketed out there, and it just took off like wildfire. So much so that the original designs, of course, had the soft rubber heads, and whenever the sales boomed, they realized it's definitely cheaper to move to the hard heads, same plastic as the bodies, and which the paint held up better on that anyways. But yeah, it started as a joke, and I think that...
And they were drunk too, weren't they?
Yeah.
It's a bad night of movies or TV, bad TV and ideas. Here's this idea. This is a Ninja Turtle, and then the other came up with, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and they kept on going back and forth with the drawings.
And the funny thing is that the original comic, for lack of better words, was so short-lived that it's rare today to find people that know that they all had red bandanas.
Yeah.
We had a 4-pack figure set at the toy store, and they all had red bandanas.
Yeah.
And I had many people bring that to me. Is this a mispack? Is this a is this an error?
Was it
And
peas over here?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
exactly those. But it was all four turtles. Pretty much, they look identical except for their weapons. And the comic was short-lived enough before the cartoon took off.
Right.
That's not a common. I mean, you have to be a turtle fan to know that.
Yeah.
It's not very common to know that at all.
I definitely didn't know about that with the cartoon. And then shortly after, though, I had learned about it. And even then, I would guess that it was rare to find an original one because they had only printed so many of that first issue. So all I could find was a reprint, or, I think I had like a booklet or, of all the comics in it. And so now I've got on the bookshelf off screen, I've got all 4 volumes of the original comic book, and I'm slowly reading through it right now. And it just differs so much from the cartoon,
Yeah.
where, Michelangelo in the cartoon, I drew towards Michelangelo because he was the party dude and he was fun, and it's just almost everybody loved Michelangelo. Mikey was the turtle that you liked. He had the cool nunchucks, short lived though, on that cartoon. But yeah, it was just he loved pizza, and I started loving pizza, and so yeah, that's how I got this body here.
You have you have just enough years on me that you kind of came in while the cartoon was airing new. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I was born in '81, so '87 or '88, I think, was like the first season. You have to correct me if with the first season, and it only had like 5 episodes, and it was more like one movie
Yeah.
because each episode led into the next and into the next and the next. And now, if you don't know what we're talking about, Nickelodeon airs these from time to time live on YouTube, and you can find the Ninja Turtles on there, the classic cartoon. And so that was the only thing that we had was the cartoon and the comics. And then shortly after, we had the Archie comics of the Turtles. And the Turtles, that was more so in line with the cartoon, with some major differences. What I thought was fascinating about the original comic versus the cartoon was that Shredder died at the very end of the episode, or the comic, the first issue. And and that was a funny thing of how Shredder came to be. One of the creators had wore a cheese grater and was like, wouldn't it be funny if there was like a villain called the I think it was the Cheeser or something, or something like that. And so, not Cheeser, but then the other was like, well, what about the Shredder?
Yeah.
And that stuck.
I've heard so many funny stories about where they drew their ideas from.
The grater, that's what it was.
Everything. There was I've always wanted to go back in time and be a fly on a wall at certain parts of history, and just be there for that first time that somebody did something, or just to see why you did that one thing.
Yeah.
And going back and watching them two create Ninja Turtles as a fly on the wall is definitely one of the things on the list of what I would do with a time machine, because the stories that I've heard, these guys were just, they were in their own world.
Yeah.
And luckily they brought their world out to everybody else.
Right. And the cartoon wasn't even in existence, and the figures actually came out first. Because out of nowhere, they've struck a deal with Playmates Toys, which Playmates is still around today, and they haven't been consumed by another toy company, and they've done great work, and the success of the Ninja Turtles put them on top for years. Yeah, they struck a deal, and Playmates, Peter and Kevin, they drew some villain ideas, and they took from those drawings and rejected some, and so you had crazy villains. That's where I think maybe Bebop and Rocksteady came from, as well as some other villains that we didn't see in the cartoon. But the toys started it all, and then they're like, we've got to pump out this cartoon really quick so that we don't lose steam or lose an audience, and sell more toys. And so it was a hit. I mean, it was called Turtle Mania, especially with the first live action movie, which as a child seeing that for the first time in the theater, I was like, blown away because you saw the turtles real, and the costumes. I think the costumes still hold up today. With some, if they did the show or the movie today, some touch-ups on, pieces of costume to make it look CGI, to make it look a little bit more real. But I mean, you could still make probably those costumes today and pass it off as a live movie.
One of the things I was bringing up earlier was where you've got about 6 years on me, and you were coming up as everything was coming out. I was born in '87, so I had, I guess you could say, a cooler childhood because I got a lot of hand-me-down toys, but they were from the '80s.
Yeah.
Which was the best toy era.
Right.
So I got the Ninja Turtles and Transformers and DC Superpowers, and I don't look back on that as oh man, I had these used toys. I'm like, yeah, I had the '80s toys, but I grew up with '90s cartoons.
Right.
So I actually worked my way backwards to Ninja Turtles because come '93, '94, where I'm sitting there watching cartoons, no matter what channel I flip to, insert four brother animals fighting crime, and that's what was on TV. And of course, oh my gosh, look at these four sharks, and oh, there's four mice from Mars, and
and see, the funny thing is, I think I viewed those shows as copycats, so I didn't really get into those shows at all.
Yeah.
I knew they were there, but it was like, oh, they're just trying to make money off the Ninja Turtle fame,
And I was seeing Ninja Turtles as old, and it didn't look as good as these new shows, but the new shows were, in essence, they're the kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I worked my way backwards, kind of like Transformers, same era. I'm sitting there watching Beast Wars,
right,
and somebody just randomly told me that about the car Transformers, the truck Transformers, and I'm like, what a dumb idea! Like, why would they do that after Beast Wars? Beast Wars was awesome, and then I got to the end of Beast Wars, and spoiler alert, they find the G1 chip from the '86 movie, and I'm like, what is this? So I had to work my way backwards. So I grew up with '90s cartoons, having to go back to the '80s cartoons, but I already had all the '80s toys.
Right.
So it was a
good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really cool time to be a kid.
Yeah. And I don't think my parents had anything. They had a few things from the '70s that they brought into the '80s for me to play with. One was one of the old video game systems, Odyssey, I think is what it was, and I think they had another one I can't remember for the life of me right now, but so those, and there are a few other things I can't recall off the top of my head, but the '80s was really the growth of these toys, and it's really silly though. It's like, they're just pieces of plastic, and they have like a little bit of the inside to, for the legs to pop in and the heads to stay and to rotate and
And
they,
you can tell that they didn't anticipate us keeping them this long.
right.
The rubber pieces, I mean, if you were one that played with your turtles, by now your turtle belts they're not working.
Yeah.
They have either dry rotted,
Right.
or the oil from playing with them has eaten into them. Um, the plastic, though, the plastic's really always held up. I haven't seen
Yeah.
too many. Now these are painted figures. This was before they would, mold the yellow shell and
Right.
the green shell on the back, and so they are actually painted. They're all the color of the turtle's skin.
Right. And you notice right here with Donatello, his bow staff holder had deteriorated.
Yep.
I think, if I'm not wrong, these were all stored incorrectly, of course, after I got finished playing with them. And the reasoning behind that is, of course, you're growing up and you're moving on to something else and you put away childish things, But then, later in life, I discovered that, nostalgia, the retro, what they call what this was, is really something popular now, and that it's cool. It's okay to be a nerd now, Whereas before, if you kept on, playing with these, you would be labeled, a nerd or a geek or whatever, Donatello
Yep.
there. But, there's a lot of value in some of these. I mean, I missed out on the soft head turtles, but then I did have a soft head, I still do, a soft head Shredder and a soft head Bebop, and I think Rocksteady as well. But I just missed the turtle figures there. And so, how much are the soft heads worth if they're in good condition on the card? You recall?
Um, I haven't came across or needed to appraise a perfect one.
Right.
So I'm gonna go on just relatively good shape. If the bubble's not yellowed,
Right.
the corners aren't bent, somebody didn't cut the pizza points off the back of it, that kind of thing. I th- I have seen many soft heads go for, I think, in the 2 to 220 range.
Yeah.
Now that's not the highest quality.
Right.
That's just somebody bought it and took care
It's
of
a
it.
good,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Loose soft heads without their accessories, they're actually not much more than a hard head without its accessories.
Right.
You're looking at like $10 to $12 if there's not paint damage.
Yeah.
You start adding in the accessories, and I believe a hard head that has all of his accessories, no issues, loose, somewhere in the 25 to 30 range, where a soft head might bring 50, 55.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're significantly rare because they continue to pump these out,
Right.
afterwards with the hard heads. And I'm glad that Turtles fell in the era in between the two. I don't know that there's technical names for them, so I'll call it the Star Wars success era,
Right.
and the '90s let's flood the market era.
Yeah.
They're like right in the middle, and I love that about them because after the success of the 70s, 77 to 85 Star Wars, whenever they came back around to making more in the mid 90s, because we were in somewhat of a different industrial age. We had a lot more advanced manufacturing and stuff like that. They're like, oh, well, instead of making this many of each figure,
Yeah.
let's times that by 50,000. And that's what flooded the market with the power of the Force. and the Power of the Jedi figures. And now you walk into a used toy store and you can find those new in the package. We're talking 30 years later, brand new and perfect packages for $7,
Yeah.
just because they made way too many.
Yeah. Star Trek did the same thing. And it's funny with Star Trek is we thought in the 90s that these would be worth something because
Of the
they
success
had,
of the previous decades.
right. And because they were numbered individually, you looked
Oh,
at
yeah.
on the foot of the Star Trek figure, and there was a number on it. Plus, even on the card itself had that same number, whether it was a sticker or whatnot. And so, you know, now there might be some fudge room, with like a lower number
Yeah.
being worth more, but most of these figures, like you're saying, 7, 8, 10.
I've
You know,
seen so many of the Playmates also had Star Trek, didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Playmates did it.
So what they did, and I laugh every time I see it, is, right real big on the front of the package, limited edition.
Yeah,
And up in the upper right hand corner, it says limited to 500,000 pieces.
yeah.
That's not very limited.
No, there's
The
5,000 out there.
yeah, the limited to 500,000 pieces. There's not 500,000 people that I think want that. It's a random character from a 30-second monologue in an episode
Yeah.
that, it's like, why'd you make 500,000 of that
Right.
guy?
And I think it was like Tasha Yar. She was a rare, I think she was a rare figure, one of those rare figures where it was like a 3-pack. And so you had a Picard in one of the old Starfleet uniforms of Kirk's era in the movie uniform. And then I forget who else was packaged. But yeah. So, yeah, it was just like, it's not worth very much,
Nope.
I think the only one that really that was interested in was Seven of Nine, because she was the Borg babe, of Star Trek Voyager, and so to have a figure of Seven of Nine, this is the Seven of Nine in the silver cat suit, and so. They also had a Seven of Nine where she was half Borgified. That wasn't really as popular as the slinky
Right.
cat suit. So,
Nowadays, I think everybody's grails for that line of Star Trek. There's much higher quality companies that have done other stuff since, but they call them the 1701 figures.
yeah,
Instead of them being limited to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, they were limited to 1701
right,
per figure, and which was the number from the Enterprise,
right.
and it was 1701, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1701. Yeah,
I've came across one
yeah.
the entire time that I've done anything with toys. I've found one, and it priced somewhere in the, I want to say like $600 to $700 in the package,
Yeah.
which blows
Jeez.
any '94 Star Trek figure out of the water.
Yeah.
Because those are just like the '90s Star Wars, where it's like, oh, it's new in the package, and it's like $8 30 years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for these guys, I'm glad that they fell where they fell,
Right.
because they got the boost in the style from the '80s, but they put out really good stuff, and they didn't flood the market before that '90s toy boom hit. And I think that all coincidental, but I think that helped
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that I think helped the Turtles, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, was looking back, all of the franchises that I have been a part of or learned about or interviewed people over, Ninja Turtles is like one of the most evolving franchises that's out there. You take the original Power Rangers,
Right.
and I was watching that on TV, and now I watch, like flipping through the channels, Power Rangers is on. It's different people.
Right.
It's different Zords.
Different suits.
It feels like I'm watching the same show though. It's just like it's a different season. It kind of always stayed the same.
Right.
And then of course, I mean, even the comic books, DC and Marvel stuff, it kind of didn't evolve either. Now you have your more reader friendly stuff, and then you have your darker versions.
Yeah.
But if you look at the comic worlds like that, like DC and Marvel, and split it into those two groups,
Right.
like, yeah, 66 Batman is not the same as the Dark Knight.
Right.
But they're in two different groups.
Yeah.
And if you watch those groups go, they really haven't evolved either.
Right.
But when I look at Turtles, you start out with this goofy comic book. And then you get the toys, and which were awesome, and then here comes the cartoon. You've already mentioned the live action movies.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
Yeah.
And then I mean just ever since then, the video games
Oh yeah.
were awesome.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the arcade game. Before we had the NES arcade game, we had the actual arcade cabinet, the Turtles cabinet game, in arcades, and that was the trophy,
Yeah.
of games.
And I broke down whenever I saw the company One Up put the 4-player version of the mini.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
yeah, that's not the same
No.
because it's like
It's
this wide,
this wide. You're
and I had 4 grown men standing in front of it, reaching in like
I
this to
remember
play
you
the
telling me
game.
about that. Yeah.
It was quite hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, all logic went out of my mind when I realized that I could have that in my house.
Yeah.
But
And it was affordable because if you wanted the actual arcade cabinet, first off, it's old. The
larger than
the
normal, too.
CRT, TV may work, may not, may give out, whatever. But the price tag on it can go from whatever condition it is, from what, 2,000 to 10,000 maybe?
Yeah, 2000 would be like pretty
Cheap.
not so good condition,
Yeah.
but still kind of works.
Yeah.
But and then Turtles got there's been so many different takes or interpretations. Recently, the Mutant Mayhem. You have Michael Bay. You have NECA has been making so many figures here lately.
Right.
You had the Super 7 figures.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the most evolving franchise as to, well, it evolved. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
lack of better words. So being there from the beginning and watching the course that it took, was there ever a time that you were like, oh no, what are you guys doing?
Well, I was so heavily involved with that first cartoon as classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so by the time that the third movie had come out, based on all, the cartoon, and even though it was not based on the cartoon in certain ways, but for all essence, it was tagged on as, if you watch the cartoon, you watch these movies, So as the third movie bombed, pretty much, I started wavering on, having turtles, and collecting the turtles, and So in 93, 94, I stopped collecting them. But as I was going on with other cartoons or movies or other toys that I was interested in, I would go to Toys R Us, and then I would always check the turtle aisle. And I remember seeing Scratch, and I remember seeing the dog. You know, what was the dog's? I can't recall.
Hotspot.
Hotspot, and the giraffe, which you've got the giraffe in Hyperspace Toys for 200 has all the accessories. I'm very tempted to get that. And so I didn't get Scratch. I thought about getting the dog. I didn't get the dog. And I thought about getting the giraffe too, because it was like, oh, that's kind of like, Jeffrey,
Hmm.
for Toys R Us. But at that time, I was thinking, man, what are they doing? You know, these are not in the cartoon, and they're just trying to make money.
That was the worst time to think that. You should have bought crates of these
I
figures.
know. I should have bought all of them. And even my mom, I wasn't even driving yet. She's like, "I'll get it for you." No, I don't want it. One of the reasons that I remember not wanting Scratch was that there was a cat that I had run into when I was younger, and the cat was pregnant. I didn't know that at the time, and I wanted to pet her. And I had walked back, and that cat leaped at me, scratched my leg, scratched the cat.
Right.
I was like, no, I don't want it. So, that was the first time that I was like, oh, y'all are going too far with this. And then in 2003, with the new Turtles cartoon, um, it was a lot edgier and a lot more, from what they said, truer to the comic. Um, I didn't really care for that series. I didn't get into it because it was like, it was different. And I just could not set my mind differently.
I heard that it was edgier and more relatable to the comic as well.
Yeah.
Are are you talking about the one where the art style where they had the big feet, like the big calves, and
I think so. Yeah. They were very muscular.
it's where they first started to like make their bodies almost disproportionate.
Yeah.
Um,
They
yeah,
were taller, I guess.
I didn't like that art style of that show,
Yeah.
which is weird because it has nothing to do with, oh, that's not the original, because I think the Mutant Mayhem art style is, I think that they hit it good.
Yeah.
It's just that it looks like bell-bottom turtles, like the like the turtles have what is that? Elephantitis
Yeah.
on their legs.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like, I don't know if, and of course, before the 2003, they had the live action show that Saban did. And I didn't even realize it was Saban at the time, because I think Power Rangers was,
That's
Power
the one that
Rangers.
crossed with
Yeah,
Power Rangers
yeah.
at one point, wasn't it?
And so it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, and they added a fifth turtle, Venus. And so the first girl turtle, and she had a light blue bandana, and that was her color. And I had watched a handful, I guess. Didn't ever get into it. The costumes looked. I don't know what looked worst. The costumes in the third movie, because they were pretty bad, or the next mutation. I don't know. They both were bad. And so I just couldn't get my mind past that. But then comes 2007 with the TMNT movie, which was CGI. And so I was really interested in that. And the turtles didn't really look um, quite as weird, I guess, or quite, or not as, um, away from their original look
Mm-hmm.
from the cartoon, is what I'm trying to say. So went to the theater to see that. I really did like that movie, and I really especially liked it at the very end. They had some items that they showed on the wall, which had the time scepter from the Turtles 3 movie and Shredder's helmet that looked like the first movie's Shredder's helmet with the little openings
Mm-hmm.
in the mask, with the screen, So it made me think that it was a sequel. It was like the true fourth installment of the three turtle movies from the 90s. But then again, it was like it stood on its own.
Right. All right. Fast forward a little bit more.
Yeah,
I want to hear your Michael Bay.
my Michael Bay. All right, so I remember hearing that Michael Bay wanted to make them aliens. Teenage Alien Ninja Turtles, I suppose, is what the title may have been, or some sort of other title, whatever he would come up with. This is the time now, because back then, even in 2003, even in 2007, the internet was still growing, or not at all. There was no internet, hardly any internet in the 90s. There was America Online, and it was limited. And so not everyone except for the tech savvy ones had their own websites and their own places, and message boards and things like that. You had to really hunt for them. So the opinions of people didn't really shine in the forefront on the mainstream media like it does today. So fast forward to the Michael Bay movies. As Michael Bay is letting these ideas come across, or having them leaked, or whatever. Social media, all that came alive for those people that were not in favor of them being aliens. Was like, no, they can't be aliens. That's stupid. That's dumb. And so I guess I don't know exactly if this was the reason why he changed it or not, but he changed it at least. He did issue out a statement like, relax or chill out or something like that. I You'll like it, and we know what we're doing, which kind of felt like a slap in the face. I don't know. I don't remember the exact quote, but I'll put it on the screen if I can find it. So finally, he didn't go with the alien idea, and so as watching the movie, I remember this one scene. It was Vernon and April in the news truck, and I think Vernon had a line saying, "What are they, aliens?" And so April was like, "What? No, that would be stupid." So
So they're aliens?
No, that's stupid. They're reptiles.
that was it. And they also had another problem too. Was I think that who was the guy's name that was also a villain, but not the Shredder, but he was helping the Shredder. Gosh, it almost came to me. It was Eric Stacks, and so originally I think in the script it called for him to be the Shredder, and that got leaked out too, and everybody went berserk about that. the Shredder can't be, a white guy. He has to be Oriental and all that. And I don't know if that was the exact argument about it, but it just was different. They added some scenes after they had that backlash, so that Eric Sachs would be his own character and someone else would be the Shredder. And so they added scenes where him and the Shredder were talking back and forth. And so that was right before the movie released, I think. And so that was another change. I enjoyed the Michael Bay movies. Was it the greatest? No. I don't care for making them have pieces of clothes and hardware stuck on them, and Donatello has glasses.
Donatello was definitely technologically decked out a little too much.
Yeah. And they're massive.
Yeah, that kind of killed it for me. Even Michelangelo and Donnie, they're the two they're all fighters, but they're not the main fighters, and they're still just these big towering figures. Yeah. And I remember watching the first Michael Bay movie thinking how much Donatello was reminding me of 66 Batman. He had a gadget for everything, Yeah. I was waiting on him to pull out the Ninja Turtle shark repellent spray. It was he had something for everything, and it was a lot of it was just already made.
Right.
Like, oh, here, April, take this, and it'll, do this, that, and the other. And I think mainly the look of them is what turned me off of the first movie.
Yeah.
But I watched it in theaters with my son. I had a good time with my son.
Right.
But going back and reminiscing about Turtles after watching the movie, I wasn't too stoked. And then starting to hear about the second movie coming out, and I was like, no, my son's older. He's not into it anymore. I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, Casey Jones is going to be played by Stephen Amell. And Green Arrow is my favorite superhero. Yeah. And Stephen Amell absolutely obliterated the role on the CW. Yeah. And I love him to death.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now I got to go see it.
Yeah.
So I went and watched it, and I kind of still felt the same way afterwards.
Right.
But it was a cool take on watching what Tyler Perry did with Baxter Stockman, and also watching what Stephen Amell did with Casey Jones.
Right.
I actually enjoyed those two characters more than the whole rest of the movie that was going on behind them.
Yeah.
Even Rocksteady and Bebop, as outlandish as that take was on them.
Right.
I think that they picked two great guys.
Yeah.
And I think that, of course, most of their camera time was CGI.
Yeah.
But, that's still them with their personalities behind the microphones. And that was the real Bebop and Rocksteady to me. You know what I mean? And
what was... I thought, the only thing that didn't fit with Bebop and Rocksteady were their 80s clothing. And it just didn't fit. They would have probably, the movie people would have gotten flack for it if they didn't do it. So I understand that, but they could have updated it a little bit for, the times. But still, I actually loved the second movie better than the first one of Michael Bay's. Only because of all the characters we always wanted to see from the classic cartoon were in there. We had Rocksteady, Bebop, even Baxter Stockman, and Krang. Krang was the big one for me.
Crane definitely lived his part in that movie.
Yeah.
That's Anybody that has seen that second Michael Bay movie and did not know who Krang was, that's him.
Yeah.
Like that was.
Yeah.
He slapped Shredder around like a rag doll, and he's boss sauce.
Yeah. And they kind of, were forming that uh, bickering wife and husband, type of thing that they had in the cartoon. Although Krang wasn't going to put up with it, he just, froze him and put him away, as one of his trophies. That
Yeah.
he conquered the Shredder, and he was going to toy with the turtles, and then the thriller of all, thrills of that movie was the Technodrome. Always wanted to see the Technodrome in the movie, even though it was CGI. And how else are you going to really do the Technodrome?
And it had as many pieces as the
Right.
Titanic.
And so you have the portal opening up. The portal in itself reminded me, and it may not be the exact same, but it gave me the feels, of the style that they used in the cartoon, the original classic cartoon. When there was a portal opening up, it seemed like it had the same colors, same static type of effects to it. So that was a nice touch there. And then you have pieces of the Technodrome come out, and at first you're going to think, it's just going to be a ball, shape. But then you see the eye turn around or open it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they've gone all out with this, And so that was one of the awesome things about childhood too, was with this show, when they made the Technodrome playset. That was awesome. You finally had the bad guys' arsenal. And so we'll get through that in another episode, but yeah, even before the Michael Bay movies, I think 2012, there was another cartoon that came out. I really loved the 2012 cartoon. It paid homage to everything up to that point. And it even had, even the 2003 cartoon, after it had done its run, it had a special Turtles Forever, where the new 2003 Turtles, edgier Turtles, met up with the classic Turtles from the 87, 88 series. And so that was really special there, even though none of the original voices returned for that. Except for the original, except for the 2003 voices. And so that was fun. And it even crossed into the comic book Turtles. So they went into that world, and it was all pencil drawn. It was black and white. It was fun. It was unique. You had the cartoon, both the cartoon turtles and then the comic book turtles all together, and in this black and white world, and so Shredder and the Utrom, they were trying to destroy all the universes of the turtles, and so that was a fun Turtles movie. But the 2012 cartoon, it paid homage, especially to the classic Turtles cartoon, and they also met up with the original Turtles as well in a crossover. And so you also had the original voices reprise their role, except for Shredder, which he had passed away, the voice actor for that. And so that was a lot more special, because then the Turtles come into a CG type, animation. So you get to see the classic Turtles a little bit more fuller, and a little bit more, I guess, not realistic, but a little bit more depth to it. And so they even made jokes about that too, like Michelangelo, dude, I feel more 3D or something like that. So it was fun to watch that as well. So I really liked the 2012 series, and then the newest one,
One of the Mutant Mayhem was the movie.
Mutant Mayhem, was the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched that and I enjoyed that one. I didn't quite like the style, the filter style
yeah.
that they put on it, but it was good.
Got another question for you.
Yeah.
Just because I looked up and happened to see them. So we could talk all night long about, which actually can even make it an episode probably,
Yeah.
about Ninja Turtle crossovers. So to keep that short, out of all of the Ninja Turtle toy crossovers, you have the Power Rangers, you have the WWE figures, you have, list goes on and on. I think we just did Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
So what would be your favorite and least favorite Turtle crossovers with the toys?
I immediately think of the Masters of the Universe, the Turtles of Grayskull line that had just come out. What, 2 years old? I think maybe.
Yeah, they're not old at all.
Yeah, they're not old at all. I think Mattel has nailed it with those figures. They are, I think they're better than the Playmates ones. Of all the turtle figures that Playmates had made, they made these turtles look really good, and they're infused with that He-Man
Yeah.
lore look,
Which was just about 4 years prior.
yeah.
So, they were in the same era. If you liked one, you most likely was
Yeah.
liking the other.
Oh yeah. I grew up on He-Man. And so that was from what I remember, other than Batman and Super Friends, that was basically at the same time, was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, 84, 85. And of course, the same thing happened with that, was that they made the toys and then they made the cartoon. They had a different backstory for the toys. Because the toys would come out with this little comic book, and it was very short, and it had a different storyline. Of course, at that age, I couldn't read any of it. I just look at the pictures, like every other kid would, and so I love going through He-Man and having He-Man. I've got original He-Man toys that we're going to feature on this channel. I've got more turtle figures, I think, than anything else. And I'm really into Batman. And I've got a nice Batman collection. But there's a limit on that Batman collection. I've got mostly everything out of that Batman collection, minus a vehicle or two, or a figure or two, because they got wild with repaints, resculpts, or whatever, fire this Batman, jumping. I'm making this stuff up, but
you're actually probably not. If you just add a couple adjectives in front of the word Batman,
right.
It was probably made in the 90s.
Yeah.
Surf's Up Batman, Arctic Batman, Deep Sea Batman, not Deep Sea Batman. They made them all, yeah.
They even played on that idea in the Flash movie that was made a couple years ago when Michael Keaton returned as Batman. And so that was the sole reason why I watched the Flash. In the Flash movie, it comes where Michael Keaton opens up the bookshelves. They open up, you see the beloved 1989 Batman costume, and right beside it, this is all in the background, the 1992 Batman Returns outfit, and they all looked worn and wore out, like they did at the end of those movies. And so you've got the current Batman costume in front, and then you have all these other different ones. And one is like a deep freeze Batman, Arctic Batman, which I was like, I thought that was hilarious, you know. And then you had like the blue and gray Batman, which they had made the Dark Knight collection or the Batman Returns collection had a darker gray and darker blue Batman. It was similar to the Superpowers Batman with the black and gray.
Yeah, and
tights.
actually, whenever McFarlane just did I don't want to call it a remake, more of a bring back to the Superpowers, because they're not remakes like how they remake these in the same molds.
Right.
He put his own spin on them, but most of the figures you can look at and you at least feel like it's a superpower.
Right.
From the 80s. There's a version of Batman he did that is exactly like how you described it. It was a much, much darker, even darker than the original
Right.
gray and blue
Yeah.
from the 80s. And I think that's what...
Yeah. And it wasn't the classic yellow, and black bat symbol on his chest. It was just the bat, symbol without the yellow circle.
The big fat
Yeah.
the big fat bat is
I'm not really a fan of that. I like the classic look of it, but I have it.
yeah.
And the one gripe I have on that McFarlane Superpowers line is that they made pretty much every figure half an inch taller than the original line, which really pissed me off. Because you can't mix and match with the original Superpowers.
Yeah.
You could, I guess, you put the taller figure behind them some distance, or whatever, I always think of in video terms if I were to mash up a, stop motion series.
And I know that whenever that McFarlane Superpowers line came out, I mean, people like us, I mean, just hearing about it, long before we saw it, we're super hype. And I mean, that's a great example, much like the Michael Bay movies and not letting Optimus really die in 86. And, the public has a lot more control than what you would think, because as of right now, unless it changes, my personal opinion is that has been a failed toy line. You're starting to see them in, what we call bin stores, or the, I don't know the technical name for them, but like Ross, Dirt Cheap, those kinds of stores, Ollie's, and they're like $4.
Yeah.
And hopefully he turns it around. And but we wanted modern remakes of Superpowers. I mean, you could have called them anything else in the world, and nobody would have probably complained. But you called them Superpowers,
Right.
and you put them on that card. They need to have something to do with superpowers.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And it needs to make the Green Arrow.
They need to make that gimmick, the squeeze the legs,
Yep.
karate chop or whatever, but they have nothing. And they don't even have accessories. Okay. Wonder Woman has her lasso, her golden lasso, which is thread,
My favorite superpowers from the 80s, and I actually broke at least 10 Wonder Woman just to find out how this worked, because growing up, I couldn't wrap my head around it. She has non-articulated arms. If you were to play with her arms, they just go like this.
Yeah. And they cross, though.
Only if you squeeze her legs.
Yeah.
If you're playing with her arm, it only goes straight. But when you squeeze her legs, her non-elbowed arms, they cross in front of her, and it always blew my toy had a superpower. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
those gimmicks, that's what we loved about those.
Right.
Before I sold my Superpowers collection, my Flash, oh buddy, You squeeze his arms and his legs. I could get him to where it actually looked like a blur.
Yeah. Don't I have your Flash? Did I buy your Flash from hyperspace?
I think you did.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. And then, of course, Green Arrow doing somewhat of a draw on a bow
Yeah.
was another good one. Who else had a good superpower? Most of them were karate chops or kicks or.
Right. Joker. Did Joker have anything? Did his arm? Did you have to move his arm, or was there a gimmick on him?
I think the gimmick was he would
Okay, yeah.
slam his hammer.
Yeah.
I'm just always been fascinated. Turtles hasn't always been my biggest thing. I don't know that it was ever my biggest thing, but I can respect everything from start to finish.
Right.
Whether it was a coincidental timing or a genius marketing plan.
Yeah.
They didn't fall into the industrial age of flooding the market. Right. They didn't fall into their remakes not being good.
Yeah.
I mean, they have literally beat every curve that all the other franchises are struggling with.
Yeah.
That, along with the evolution of, you take any person, and as long as you can sell them on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle idea,
right,
there is an era of turtles they will love.
Yeah. And there's plenty of them.
Yeah. Whether it be they like this style of cartoon or they like that style of cartoon, or they like the old school live action because it's less CGI, or the new Michael Bay movies.
Right.
I mean, as long as you can sell that name to somebody, you have to get the name out there first. Like, hey, there's these four brothers.
Yeah.
They're ninjas, but they're not very old.
They're turtles, though.
And they're turtles. As long as you can get them past that, there is a window somewhere between mid 80s and now that person will love.
Yeah.
And that's not true to any other franchise.
And it's amazing to me that Playmates, because of the nostalgia and all that, and they still keep pumping out these four classic Turtles as reissues. And
they've never stopped selling.
They never stopped selling it, yeah. And I even heard like a year or two ago that they are re-releasing every figure from this line, from the 87 line. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't wait until if they're going to do it, if I haven't mistakenly read, I want all the turtle figures that I didn't get, that I stopped. Not that they're not going to be worth anything, but at least I can say, look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you say my collection's complete, Well, let's go to the least favorite of the crossovers, because I hadn't answered that yet. Looking at all this stuff, I've got the Cobra Kai crossover figures. They're pretty neat. And the Power Ranger crossover figures. And I got into Power Rangers when it wasn't really cool to be in Power Rangers because I was 14, 15. But still, it had that lure, to me. Especially I would take the figures and do stop motion animation videos with them. And so that was my video creativity, to do that. But I don't know if there is a crossover that I don't like that is in my collection.
It doesn't have to be in your collection, because if it's your least favorite, there's a chance that there's a reason it's not in your collection.
Yeah. And I don't remember it, but I guess,
Did you get any of the wrestlers?
No, I didn't. So, see, wrestling's not my thing, even though I have some wrestle figures from the 80s, just because everybody else had them. You know,
See, I think my least favorite crossover would be the wrestling, and it's not anything against the wrestling. I was full blown teenager, late '90s, early 2000s.
yeah,
That was one of the best times for wrestling.
right, yeah,
So I was all about it. My only issue was we only have so many characters you're going to pull from Turtles,
yeah,
but you have an endless supply of wrestlers.
right,
So some turtles got reused.
mm-hmm.
Some wrestling characters you would expect to show up didn't.
Right,
It was just a weird line in the aspect of it really didn't make too much sense.
yeah,
You know, you'd have this wrestler paired up with Raphael.
yeah,
But then, you know, the next time at Walmart, it's this wrestler paired up with Raphael.
right,
But you already have your Raphael for
right.
for that reason. I think that would be my least favorite.
Yeah,
My favorite would probably be It's outside of Playmates, but Universal Studios Monsters.
yeah, oh yeah,
That NECA made.
yeah.
Dude, those are
Even Playmates made them. That's where they got that from.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, NECA.
The NECA ones. I want the movie.
They're fantastic.
I want the movie now.
Yeah, yeah. It needs to be made. Well, if they make a movie like that, it needs to be made kind of like the old monster movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a whole lot involved. It may look, a little cheap, but
There's
still,
just wind and an organ
yeah,
in the background, and
awkward scenes, of silence, and
Splinter's walking down the foggy road with his trench coat on, as Van Helsing, and
yeah.
yeah, that needs to be a thing. Somebody needs to
Yeah.
do it.
And luckily, I got to find all those figures and buy them either from Target and Target here in Pace, and either online, if Target didn't have them. And I think I may have got one, maybe one at Hyperspace. I don't remember. I bought a lot at Hyperspace. But yeah, going back to these 4 original figures, though, yeah, the one thing as a kid that I didn't understand was, why do they not look exactly like the cartoon? Why don't they have eyeballs? Yeah, they're superheroes in a sense. That Batman has these white eyes, and in comic book and some of the TV shows and things like that. But these turtles, another gripe that I had as a kid was that the front shell part had this border around it, but the cartoon didn't. And that was one of the things that irritated me most about it. I don't know if anybody else in the world, any other kids that are now grown up, had that gripe. But I certainly did. I noticed all this stuff as a kid, and it didn't make a difference. Though I bought the toys, and I played with them for hours and hours, made my own storylines and continuations off of the Turtle Show, and one of the other gripes that I had about other kids, playing with their toys, you'd have the other kids, they would just do that back and forth.
Yep.
And sometimes they'd pick up mine and do that, and I'm like, don't,
Yeah.
because you're going to damage it, And so I wanted to, have the weapon in their hand and kind of, whoosh, and do all kinds of things with these toys.
My biggest gripe about the design of them has to be Leo's head. Like, I'll put it up for the camera, but as you can see, if we kind of put everybody facing, so these 3, there's nothing really really off about their facial expressions. And then you have chewing tobacco Leo. That I don't think that you could make that face on purpose if you tried.
Turn it to that camera. That
Yeah, it's one side of his face definitely looks like it doesn't work. But I always thought that was funny with
Yeah.
Leo. I always called him chewing tobacco Leo. Because all of the turtles after the original ones, all of the turtles had that prefix.
yeah.
You know, you had Surfing Mike and you know, this, that, and the other. So I went backwards and
Well, you know, Mikey has the same face, except for its opposite.
yeah, I think Leo's is a lot more pronounced because it makes it look like his top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turtles have snouts. I'm not too sure. I don't think it's a beak.
Yeah.
But it almost looks like it's drooping over
Yeah.
his bottom. And then the amount of accessories that these came with.
Oh my God.
I never kept any of them other than the weapons that they were supposed to have.
Yeah. And Raphael, they had this one, I don't know what you call it, but this one knife that was like a pizza scoop, you know, with a handle, and made, you know, an area on the back shelf for it to hold on to. You know, I was like, why couldn't they just make the belt without that? You know, none of the other turtles have. Michelangelo has things for his nunchuck, and then, you know, Donatello there, and of course for Leo's katana blades. And by the way, Leo must have lost some weight here because the belt isn't as tight anymore.
So, oh, okay. So
You have the size that go up in the front.
I think what had happened with mine was just like the Dawn. Mine was missing these two things.
Gotcha.
So I had both sides in the back.
Okay, yeah.
I never actually realized that was for the pizza scooper.
The pizza scooper knife.
Yeah, I would just put both the sides in there at the same time.
Did your Michelangelo nunchucks snap?
Yeah, because we weren't supposed to use them as nunchucks.
My word, I think, you know, okay, so that's one of the flaws, and even to today with the reissues, that's the flaw.
Yeah, because they are trying to make it as original as they can, and that's just one piece of plastic.
Yeah.
And which just makes the chain too thin.
Well, the plastic is also a lot more cheaper, you know, cheaply made today. But because of his nunchucks breaking, and because he was my favorite turtle, I have 1, 2, 3 of the original Michelangelos. Hard head. But I kept, and Mom helped me keep all the pieces, broken or not. And so I was like, one day I'm going to be able to fix this. And so I've got all their accessories, even though I've only have the katana blades in Leo's, and the rest of these don't have. They're there. They're there. They're just stored away. Most recently, I've gone through everything turtle-wise, pretty much. Ziploc bags, labeled what figures they go to, went through that whole process because they were all loose, and going through every storage container that I have, which I've got a ton of storage containers. I think I've showed you my storage room that I pay rent on. Hopefully I can get it all combined down to a smaller, because When growing up, my parents would throw things in a storage bin and put them in the attic. And we're in Florida, so summers are hot. And that's why some of these figures are a little bit sticky because of
Yeah.
the coating that they put on the paint reacts to the heat.
I have seen that. There's about 4 or 5 big toy lines that, like, you
Yeah.
don't put them in the heat.
Yeah.
Most recently, by the way, did you know that that's not strictly 80s and early 90s toys that did that?
Really?
Um, at the toy store, we have a Jabba the Hutt that it was definitely after 2000. I think it was made right before the transition into Disney buying Lucasfilms.
Right.
And what it is it's a Jabba the Hutt playset, and it comes with. I love Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars encyclopedia. The girl that's green and has the two.
I know who you're talking about.
It's
but
like TWIE. I want to say
my cousin who
Tweakle.
my cousin who came in, to the toy store that he would know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cousin here. Her name's Ula, John. The Twi'lek. Her name's Ula. But, it's good enough. Close. Good.
Well, they made her in this set. And again, this was right before the transition where Disney owned it. And they made her in full fishnets. Completely see-through fishnets. You can see the whole figure under it.
Yeah.
And Disney's not going to touch that figure with a 10-foot pole. So that was really the last time. I don't think it was the last time she was made.
Yeah.
I think it was the last time she was made in that costume.
Right.
And anyways, sidetracking, the Jabba the Hutt from this set has that same, almost like the petroleum is leaking out of the plastic issue, that if you have it on your shelf for too long, the stuff that oozes out of his plastic actually eats and dissolves his throne, his bed.
Oh wow.
The thing that you would put Jabba on.
Yeah.
The one that we have at the store actually has a big flat area where Jabba was sitting, and so
Whoops.
we have the set complete.
Right.
With the girl.
Yeah.
And we have had many, many people interested. Can I just buy her? Can I just buy her? No.
No.
Because if we do that, she's like 98% of the value of the set.
Right.
No one's ever going to buy a radioactive Jabba the Hutt that just melts whatever plastic you put them on.
Yeah.
So to battle that, we actually have. He is sitting back on his display on a piece of saran wrap.
Yeah.
So the saran wrap is, believe it or not, it doesn't eat through the saran wrap. But the hard plastic base, it completely disintegrates it.
Wow.
Which is crazy, but that's probably the most recent toy. And that would be early 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
That would be the most recent one that I have seen that has the same. If it gets too hot, it's almost like it really feels and smells like the petroleum is almost boiling out of the plastic.
Yeah.
It's really hard to wash off.
Yeah, and for the longest time I didn't know why these were sticky, until I've Googled, and
I don't know the science behind it,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
but it's heat. It's heat. Heat destroys, and so unfortunately, I mean, you can use that goo be gone, stuff, and or if you don't care about your figures like I have in the past, get that magic eraser.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
We've had a lot of luck with dish soap and water. And,
Yeah, that does work. Yeah.
and soaking. Usually need something
Dawn.
Dawn,
Yeah.
water, and you're not going to want something really soft. You're not going to be using a washcloth.
Right.
Something like a toothbrush works well.
Right.
I think just about every toy collector should have a toy toothbrush at their house. A toy toothbrush and a toy paintbrush.
Yep.
We use those a lot.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of luck with soaking them for a day, sometimes 2 days, in Dawn to get that stickiness off the 80s toys.
Yeah. And the thing to remember is if you need to use peroxide, that's good, but don't use rubbing alcohol.
Never
Because
use rubbing
that
alcohol.
will eat through the paint, and you'll just have a smear, and you'd have to just repaint it if you wanted to, or if you're afraid of touching it any further, then you just leave it like it.
I haven't really used peroxide much. I have a couple pieces of my own that I would like to start experimenting with the rewhitening. Because you can use peroxide and UV rays, and it's supposed to bring figures back to their original colors. And I have the UV light, and I haven't found gallons of peroxide yet.
That's the only problem.
Yeah. My Sam's Club card, I can't find it, right? But
shipping on that thing is
yeah. If I end up trying it, and it's as successful as the videos you watch online, which there are very successful videos online, and I'm sure it really does work like that. But for the general person jumping into it, it usually doesn't work just like that.
Yeah. You need a sunny day.
That or luckily I have a lot of daughters, and they like the UV resin crafts.
Right.
So I have a UV light that if you leave it on and fall asleep on the couch, you're gonna wake up with a tan. Matter of fact, I have a glow in the dark Lord of the Rings wedding band, and I was helping my daughter do a UV resin craft.
Yeah.
And just from the ambient UV rays hitting my ring, it like supercharged it. And because we were doing this for a long time, and it was time for bed, and I got up and she went over and turned the living room light off.
Yeah.
And I thought my hand was on fire. Like it was extremely supercharged. So I would be trying a clear tub with the toys that need whitened, submerged in peroxide.
Right.
And then I saw somebody, what they did was they used acrylic, and they heated it up and bent it to where they made like a riser.
Yeah. And
so the riser is going to go over the toys, but also in the peroxide. And on top of the riser is my UV lantern.
Yeah.
And it's just going to light them up for a day or two.
Right.
And hopefully that works. There's not too much in the turtle line.
Right.
I think that would probably be more used on vehicles.
Yeah.
There was a lot of yellow in the vehicles.
Yeah.
That browned out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've noticed on Bandai toys, some of my Power Ranger toys, especially the smaller Power Ranger figures, even the regular size ones, like the Blue Ranger, for instance, normal color left leg, colorized, damage right leg.
Do you know why?
No.
So whenever, a lot of times, I know this happened a lot with the original Star Wars toys. They would source out different parts to different factories. And depending on where the part was made, whether it be a leg or a head or an arm or the front torso or the back torso or what have you, different manufacturers had different policies and protocols. You have different countries that have different laws. And what that caused was nobody saw it at the time, but there is a fire retardant chemical that a lot of factories used that other factories didn't. And it's that fire retardant chemical that reacted with, I want to say fluorescent,
Right.
but don't quote me on the fact that it was fluorescent lights that it reacted with. But that's why you'll see, even on a Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
you'll
Definitely.
see the entire top of it is brown,
Right.
but
The
then
bottom.
the flap that closes when you take the game out
Yeah.
is still as gray as it should have been.
Yeah.
It's because that came from a different factory, or that didn't get that fire retardant chemical in it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times whenever you see that, it's because factory A got left legs from factory B and right legs from factory C, and factory C used fire retardant chemicals, which is all fine and dandy.
Yeah.
And to the naked eye at the time, there's going to be no consequences.
Right.
You know, they couldn't fast forward through the changing of lightning. I think fluorescents were getting a lot bigger the 90s.
Yeah. And even like, I want to say daylight versus, the other shades of colors as well.
Yeah, daylight would do it too. Definitely having your toys or your gaming systems too close to the window, the UV would react with the same fire retardant chemical. And that's actually more so what that peroxiding process does. It's not really, from my understanding of it, it's not really lightening your figures.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's not bleaching them. It's reversing the process of that one chemical. So if you have 77 Princess Leia that, was in a cup of coffee for 6 months, I don't think that the peroxide UV method would take care of that.
Like that.
But like you're saying, hey, why does my stormtrooper have one brown left arm and one brown right leg, and the rest of them's perfectly white?
Yeah.
That's what that would reverse.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, standards.
Yeah.
Standards are important,
Well,
but standards also cost a little bit more money too. But that's another thing too. It was like these figures were like $2-3, and now that luckily these reissues haven't rocketed like some of these like NECA and things like that. For the prices, you can get a reissue for $10, 10 or 12, maybe 15.
For the very large majority, there have been some reissues that I don't have a rhyme or rhythm to why, but I know that the 99 reissue line, which was a reissue of these guys,
Right.
But they have their own style card, so they're pretty easy to identify in the package.
Yeah.
Not as easy to identify loose, but some of those are more expensive than their vintage counterparts.
Yeah.
If you have them neck to neck, apples to apples, you have. I want to say there's one that stood out. What did they call it? Military Dawn, Delta Team Dawn.
Yeah.
It's the military version Donatello.
Right.
And if I'm going back on
Him
memory,
in the helicopter, or is that another military?
nope, that's him in the helicopter. Yeah. So that's the original, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you had him new in the package, same example as earlier. Not something that should be in a museum, but something that this looks really good. It's not damaged. It's not yellowed. I think you'd be looking at $250, possibly $300 on him.
Wow.
The 99 re-release of that, which is on a completely different card again.
Right.
Instead of a black belt, they gave him a white belt. And it's because of that belt that they weren't supposed to do or went back and fixed. I haven't read up on the story. But if you have that in the package, you have over $1,000 figure.
Yeah, when I was going through all the accessories and using some of these websites that are very detailed, because as a kid I was like, I know I'll remember what goes with what. Yeah, right now. And so going through these figures on these websites, I'm seeing the variations, and I knew about some of the variations, but I think it was Delta Dawn that I was like, good Lord, the price difference between the one that I have and the one that I don't.
It's fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And the funny thing is that one came out 10 years later.
Yeah.
And it's just because it had a white belt that I don't know if that was on purpose or
And
not.
I just learned that it was 10 years later that it was released, just now, And so, I mean, there's several figures that have like variations, and I think there's one of them that has like, oh gosh, what was it? I can't think of it right now, but has like at least 5 or 6 different variations. Different color, this different, on each, thing, and it just depends on what store got what back then, and I didn't know the difference. I think it was Ray Fillet, because his chest armor shirt whatever had different colors, and so I was like, okay, that's weird. I don't know why. I guess it's just Playmates' fault, for making so many turtles, and thankfully my parents bought what I wanted, and I kept them, and they wanted me to keep them, and they also bought, uh, not all of them. I wish they did buy one to keep in the package and one to play with. But they did with certain ones, and I've got a couple turtle figures on the card out in the hallway that are either $100 to $250, and so around that price range. I'm never going to sell any of this stuff, but it's nice to know. It's nice to see it, and I've kept it in the card. Those are the only ones that are original to the 90s, 80s, 90s that I keep in the card. I have to free the figures. I have to let them breathe, because when I go to sleep at night, they all have a party, like Toy Story. But yeah, I've had a blast tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It was a good franchise to start with for sure, because I mean it there isn't an ending to talking about Turtles because of what it has done over the past 25, 35,
yeah,
40 years.
Yeah, I mean 87,
So
84 actually.
coming up on, well, yeah, then
With
man,
the company.
how do we miss a 40-year anniversary? The toys, they're
Yeah,
dated
the toys are
88.
88, yeah.
So I mean, maybe here in a couple years we're going to have this big 40-year boom, because a lot of times the anniversaries for toys will be the anniversaries for the toys.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming up here in a couple years, definitely keep your eyes out for some really cool turtle stuff hitting the shelf.
Right.
It would not surprise me at all that we get like remakes of all the play sets and vehicles and.
Well, I think they did celebrate the 40th last year. And these 4 here are supposed to be like collectible versions of these.
Okay.
And I'll have a video showing those. And so they're slightly different, and a lot of people had problems with these 4 because they're textured. And when I first saw it on YouTube, I was like, I don't know. I'm in agreement with the people, reviewing them. But when I finally saw it in Walmart, I was like, that's not as bad as what I thought I saw on YouTube, and I really like that. They're taller, just slightly taller, and they come with a display stand with a few little teeny tiny accessories and not the same cookie cutter weapons either.
That everybody got.
Yeah.
Like, everybody got the Ninja Stars. Everybody got the
pizza. the pizza.
The
sword.
pizza claw. And
the Ninja Stars.
What was that thing that looked like... You had the handle and it came up and it...
Yeah, it is a hook.
It came around, but then it also went straight. But it was super round that it wasn't pointy at all.
That's right.
What tool is that?
The Grim Reaper's...
See, that's what I was thinking of. But I was like, well, why wouldn't they point it? Oh, maybe for kids. And then I look at Leo's swords and I'm like, no, they have points. The size had points.
Okay.
The Ninja Stars had points.
This is what got me... and I know that mass produce all these, and so it would be more expensive. But yet, would it really be expensive if they colored these the correct color?
Every accessory was the same color.
Was brown, tan.
Even the weapon rack that you would punch them out of, and you like kept the kind of...
It was a stand, wasn't it?
Yeah, I call it the weapon rack.
Ninja weapon rack.
And it was identically colored to the weapons that you're setting against it. It's like, jeez.
They made it a point to put the initials on the belt buckle. I don't know. They maybe it's cheaper plastic, or I have no idea. But thankfully, we've got what we've got. If I wanted to paint them, I could. I don't think I want to, but yeah. So we'll have more fun. We'll even look at some other figures in this toy line of turtles and some of the more obscure ones. The ones that didn't make it into the cartoon series, and some of the just weird ones like Rock'em Sock'em Bebop and Rocksteady, or whatever the other names were, and yeah, I mean the Foot Cruiser. I'm looking at the Foot Cruiser. That was actually the Neutrinos car.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Foot Cruiser, I don't think. They stole it, I think.
There was in the arcade game.
Yeah. But it was based on the Neutrinos flying car, which we never got flying cars.
I just remember playing the arcade game, and there'd be a danger alert, and then all of a sudden, foot soldiers in a Cadillac would just mow me over.
Whoa!
It's like, oh. I always think it's something else, and then it's the Cadillac.
Yeah.
Or I think it's the Cadillac, and it's something else. I never had it pegged good.
Yeah. But I think out of all the figures of the Turtles, Krang was my favorite.
It's a hard one to beat.
I'm looking at NECA, the NECA Krang, with the android body. But when the Playmates Krang came out, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And then they came out with a shorter version that really fit more in line with the other sizes of the turtle. But then Krang, of course, was teeny tiny. But still, it was something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think one of my favorite toys to play with was the, can't think of the technical name for it. You'll probably let me know. The spider grabber.
Oh yeah.
That was a toy you could actually play with. You know, most vehicles, you put somebody in it and you go vroom vroom on your table. This was something, you could fly around with it with a foot soldier in it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're working the wheels, and you got the
you're
trigger,
grabbing
and
the
you're
turtle.
grabbing the turtles, and
Yeah.
that had a lot of playability to it.
Yeah. I have an original one, and then I got I don't know why I got another one, but got the other one from Hyperspace, and Hyperspace has another one. Just keep on coming with more and more, people wanting to sell their stuff, people wanting to buy it. That, I think, does it for our first episode of That Toy Dude. And so next time we'll have something else. So like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And would love to see who's watching and to get to know you guys. So have a good day.
See you later.